Coming into this FIFA Club World Cup, there was a bit of controversy. Players potentially striking due to them playing too many games, the tournament being labeled a money grab, and most importantly, are the players going to take it serious? Even though we had moments that confirmed our worst fears, it went better than expected. I even went to a couple of games. This is an overview of the... But first, this isn't the first installment of the Club World Cup. It dates back to the 2000s when the Brazilian side Corinthians was the first club to win the competition. Manchester City were the previous winners, and you probably saw this on their kits. FIFA wanted to spice up the competition a little bit.
Gay.
And decided to change the format. They were going all in. Even the head of FIFA did a stream with speed. But none of that matters if the players don't take the tournament serious. The first matchup would be Inter Miami and Al Hilal, two retirement league clubs going at it. Both teams would come close scoring, but the game would end scoreless. Palmeiras versus Porto is where we would see the 18-year-old phenom Estevão. He's been labeled one of the best players in Brazil at such a young age. This would be the first time the masses get to see what Chelsea saw when they signed him. The next match would be Bayern versus Auckland City, a semi-professional team from New Zealand filled with part-time players, like their center back, Christian Gray, who is a PE teacher. Despite getting absolutely demolished by 10 goals, they would be appreciated for the opportunity to even play such a club like Bayern. The first time we got to see two major clubs facing off was Atletico Madrid and PSG. PSG would comfortably win 4-0. The lack of effort out there could be attributed to how hot it was, said by Marcos Llorente. It became such a common occurrence that FIFA started implementing cooling breaks. Mind you, they only do this when the temperature basically reaches 90 degrees. Boca versus Benfica would be the first time that we got some action. There would be 3 red cards and Otamendi would score his second goal, first one being an own goal, late to tie the game, ending the game in a tie. The Seattle Sounders will go up against Botafogo in their own home stadium. With home court advantage, how did they fare? I mean, are we surprised? Chelsea would go up against LAFC and would win 2-0. I just wanted to highlight this game because this would be our first time seeing Cole Palmer in that number 10. All that magic he produced wearing that 20, the next person to take that number has some huge shoes to fill. We would get our first surprise results, Inter tying with Monterrey. A familiar face would open up the scoring. Seems like Inter still haven't recovered. Manchester City would win the first matchup against Wydad. It would be the first time we got to see their major signings in action. Same thing for Real Madrid, but with different results. They would end up tying against the club that Neymar finessed, Al Hilal. Madrid had a chance to win the game, but Vardy had his penalty saved. Take a bow, Al Hilal. This is your Super Bowl. You guys tied with Real Madrid? I don't see it getting much better than that for them. To wrap up match day 1, Juventus would put up 5 against Al Hilal. Inter Miami will get their first win against Porto, where we saw Messi score a free kick to win them the game. Sounders again would lose in their home stadium, this time to Atletico Madrid. Our first upset of the tournament. The champions of Europe would lose to the Brazilian side Bota. Igor being the one to score the only goal of the game, and what a goal. I should also mention the keeper John has some nice saves. Benfica would hang up 6 against the part-timers. Chelsea would go up against Flamengo. All the Brazilian sides have been tough outs, but their cute little run stops here. There's just levels to it. Look, Chelsea scored the first goal, man. Like, they're going up against a real team, not one that plays in a far... I guess the unbeaten streak continues. I guess. I did not see that one coming. Honestly, this shouldn't come as a surprise. The best talents that we have seen come from Brazil. Also, Nico got a 2-match ban for this red card. Hopefully those 2 matches aren't detrimental to his time at Chelsea. Bayern would beat Boca because of a late goal from Mr. Nonchalant himself, Olise, becoming the first club to beat a South American team in this tournament. This would also be the first sold-out game of the tournament. Dortmund would beat Sundown in their matchup. Job would score his first goal with his new club. The same magic they needed for Barca, they needed for the Red Diamonds? God, how the mighty have fallen. The Diamonds led for a vast majority of the game until the 78th minute. Inter would score 2 goals, what a goal by the way, in a span of 14 minutes. They were so close to having their moment, but it just slipped away. Just look at their fans. They deserved it. I wish they could have pulled it off. They would also clean up after themselves, taking their L gracefully. Some clubs out there should take notes. Real Madrid would get their first win of the tournament, beating Pachuca, while being down a man for basically the whole game. Finally, Manchester City would give Aline a bad case of the beats. Stop me if you heard this before. The Sounders would lose in front of Atletico Madrid, would be the ones to end the Brazilian unbeaten streak, but sadly it would be for naught because they would be eliminated. Palmeiras would score 2 late goals against Miami to finish the game in a tie. This was a game we got to see a legend in the game go up against an up-and-comer. In the last match day, we would get a high-scoring game between Al Ahly and Porto, where the clubs combined for 8 goals. It seemed like Al Ahly would come out victorious until the 89th minute. Oakland would leave on a high, basically scoring 2 goals in their final game against Boca. A team where the players make as little as $90 a week will be leaving the tournament with $3.58 million in their pockets. Benfica would get their lick back, beating Bayern. Delap would score his first goal with his new club in a win against Tunis. Inter would beat River Plate. This would be Franco's last game before heading to Real Madrid. He would get caught getting emotional knowing that he's ending one chapter with a club that raised him and starting a new chapter with a new team. Man City would put up 5 goals against Juventus, getting their lick back and then some. You guys, is Man City back? Here's how the group stage played out before getting into the battle of the Brazilian clubs would see Palmeiras winning in the 100th minute. Chelsea would beat Benfica with 4 of the 5 combined goals in that match being after the 95th minute. Sadly, it would be Di Maria's last game for Benfica, the club that got him the move that really started his career. Now, one of the games I went to, PSG versus Messi. My first ever football match, and I was so happy I got to see my GOAT, João Neves, scoring 2 goals. I thought I was gonna see Messi scoring his patented free kick, but I was sadly mistaken. It might have been a beatdown, but I was just glad I was able to see the person that really got me into the sport with my own 2 eyes, Suarez. Bayern would win their matchup against Flamingos. Fluminense would see another Brazilian club go down and would say no thank you. Probably not the start Chivu had envisioned. Man City versus Al Hilal. Man City is about to slaughter. They put up 5 against Juventus. Imagine how much they're putting up against a retirement.
Do not pick up my phone, I'll go straight to air.
What a game we witnessed and nobody saw it coming. Monday, June 30th is what the Club World Cup should be all about. Giving clubs outside of Europe the platform to show that they can compete. Even worse news for Man City, Rodri would pick up an injury and he will be out for an extended period of time. The next day, an emerging talent for Real Madrid, Garcia, would be the one to score the only goal in their win against Juventus. Dortmund would win 2-1 with Guirassy being the one that scored the 2 goals. With Dortmund advancing, you know what that means, right? The Bellingham brothers will be facing off. Man, I can't wait to see them go out.
A foul by Joe Bellingham now. He will now miss the game with his brother should they get there.
You had one job. One! We had 2 clubs nobody saw reaching this point facing off. Only one can advance and it would be Fluminense. The next game would be the Estaval Cup. He would actually score in the game to give Chelsea a bit of a taste of what to expect. Chelsea would advance with the help of a late own goal. I do want to shout out Richard Rios, who really showed that he deserves a move to Europe. Now, the other game I went to, PSG versus Bayern. PSG would win 2-0, but there would be more that meets the eye. Bayern would have goals get called back. PSG late would get 2 red cards in a span of 10 minutes. And the obvious one, Musiala leaving with such a devastating injury. Besides seeing such a talent go down, I had such a good time and now I'm able to flex to people that I got to see Thomas Muller's last game as a Bayern player. Real Madrid would win 3-2 against Dortmund. Before moving on, during this round, Andre Silva and Diogo Jota was getting honored, whether it was players doing Diogo's celebration or just a moment of silence. I do want to say rest in peace to the both of them. They would lose their lives in a car accident. Going into the game between Chelsea and Fluminense, a major problem would come out that's been happening throughout the tournament. They had to slash prices for the game due to low demand. It could be due to pricing and the times of the games. I mean, that's one of the main reasons why people did not show up for USA. Fluminense's Cinderella story would come to an end losing to Chelsea. What a story. Thiago Silva just proving form is temporary, but class is forever at the age of 40. And John Arias, just like Richard, that he is also prime for a move to a European club. João Pedro will make his debut for Chelsea against his former club, and he would be the one that scored the 2 goals. We got to see 2 strong contenders for top 10 respect moments in football. The matchup we thought we were going to get in the Champions League if it wasn't for Rice looking like prime Jorginho out there. Better late than never, right? I retract that statement. I think I would have preferred the never option. You have a lot of work to do, my boy. Now, the final is set. It was a good run, Chelsea, but let's be real here. You haven't faced anybody really up to this point. This is the champions of Europe we're talking about here. Your time is up. You're going up against a legitimate Do you know how bad you have to get beaten for them to want to scrap after? Chelsea ends PSG's winning streak against Premier League teams. Chelsea was out there looking like PSG. Sanchez was looking like Donnarumma out there. I ain't never seen you act like that before. Gusto was out there looking like Hakimi for Pete's sake. In only his 2nd game for the club, João now has more trophies than Kylian Mbappe. Also, Chelsea is now the most successful English club in this century. From now on, you'll be seeing this on Chelsea's jersey until the next FIFA Club World Cup. I never thought I would see the day that this picture existed.